Folks, welcome back. It's the tip of the iceberg, but the China virus has brought into focus just how big a threat China is to the American people. It's a threat that has been largely ignored by a sympathetic press and a complicit Democrat Socialist Party. President Trump created a China task force made up of 15 lawmakers to create policies that would stop the CCP from expanding its influence. Joining me now, two members of that team, Pennsylvania Congressman Guy Reschenthaler and Florida Congressman Michael Waltz. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being there. Your job in the task force was to identify threats that China could pose not only onto the United States, but onto the world, both present and future. Mr. Reschenthaler, tell the folks at home about some of the things that, while not getting a lot of coverage in the biased press, threats to America.
Well, they're really multifaceted. Everything from China requiring forced intellectual property transfers to China taking their military fleet, their naval fleet, to a 6 aircraft carrier fleet, meaning they can project naval power well into the Pacific. Not to mention the human rights atrocities you're seeing, in particular, Western China against the Uyghur population, which is a Muslim minority population. And I need to say this, Chris. If you doubt China's aggression, just look at how they handled this pandemic. We have information that the Chinese locked down travel from Wuhan, meaning they locked down domestic travel from Wuhan to the rest of mainland China, yet allowed international China from Wuhan, thereby spreading this virus all over the world and creating the worldwide pandemic. Then, to make matters worse, China then capitalized on the pandemic. So while the world was dealing with the COVID-19 crisis, China turned around and basically invaded Hong Kong, a quasi-independent city-state that was a democracy, and took over the city-state against international treaties. So China is capitalizing, they are on the move, and they are becoming increasingly aggressive.
Okay, it's no secret that Joe Biden and his family, they have strong ties to communist China and their government. In fact, two Bidens are under a criminal investigation right now surrounding those ties. Biden has refused to condemn China, instead saying that a rising China is in America's best interest. Congressman Waltz, how concerned are you that Team Biden is committed to delivering for China rather than the United States?
Well, I'm very concerned. And the difference with this adversary facing China that has an economy that is growing faster than ours, that is soon to eclipse ours, than any other adversary we've ever faced, the Soviet Union, Germany, Japan in our history, is that they have the United States awash in their money. That is from politicians that have been corrupted, that is Wall Street, that is addicted to the cheap labor and only worried about their next, the next quarterly earnings. It's certainly our sports industry. Look at the NBA. We had one coach in Houston announce that they stand with freedom in Hong Kong, and China threatened to cut the NBA off from their market. They almost fired that coach. I think that's a great example of what China wants to do around the world. And don't take it from Guy or from me. Listen to Chairman Xi's own speeches where he openly talks about preparing for war and talks about replacing the American dream with the China dream. And they're doing it primarily by stealing their way to the top. They're either stealing our technology through cyber, through our research institutions, through our universities. And if none of that works, then they actually buy up the companies in critical areas like space, like robotics, artificial intelligence, and others. So this is primarily right now an economic and a technological conflict, and they hope to make a military conflict a fait accompli because they plan on the United States going bankrupt and not being able to compete technologically and militarily in the future.
Exactly. Guys, I only got 2 minutes left, so if you guys can keep both answers, I'm going to ask you, got two more questions. Mr. Reschenthaler, so far Biden has called the slaughter and enslavement of Uyghur Muslims cultural differences with the West. Isn't that like saying Hitler's extermination of the Jews was just a cultural difference?
It is. It's completely inexcusable that the leader of the free world would ignore modern-day concentration camps in Western China. And to mark this up to say it's somehow a cultural norm, that's the kind of weakness, that's the kind of vacillation that will only invite more aggression and more atrocities from the Chinese Communist Party.
Absolutely. Congressman Waltz, next year's Winter Olympics in Beijing, I guess the upside, people are going to be out of China's filthy air. The downside, China intentionally created this pandemic that has crippled the world's economy. Should the international community even be participating in a Beijing-sponsored Olympics?
Well, I'm proud to work with Representative Reschenthaler on a resolution that says that the International Olympic Committee, will not move the Olympics, then we need to boycott. We cannot reward the Chinese Communist Party with a global platform to spread their propaganda after unleashing the coronavirus and after the atrocities that they're committing, and all of the companies that stand to pour billions into Beijing and make billions like Nike, NBC, Apple, and others. Enough is enough. And we can't have the American flag flying in Beijing and rewarding the Chinese Communist Party with that platform.